Hi everyone, welcome to Being Youthful. I am Kim Beegler, the owner of Ewethful Fiber Farm and Mill, sitting here in the mill in Halsey, Oregon. And if you're new, welcome. I'll be talking about wool. And if you're returning, thank you for coming back to listen to me talk about wool. Okay, I own a wool mill. I've got sheep. We are grass seed farmers. I've also got lots of other animals. And I just talk about all those things. So welcome. And please don't forget to subscribe. Tell your friends, comment, like, do all the things wherever you're watching or listening. This episode, I have got some mill videos of me carting up some stuff in the back. I wanted to get finally to talking about e-spinners or electric spinners for hand spinning, whether you're a beginner or you're where I'm at or you're further than where I'm at. And then I was going to talk a little bit about Plying, which is one of the fibers. You'll see it being carted up. And yeah, just some fun stuff. So, okay, let's just get started. Before I forget, I wanted to make sure that people that were listening to last episode understood that what I was showing when I was talking about moths and the little bits that I was showing their casings, and I wrote in the correction, but if you're listening, if you're doing the audio only version, you would not realize that. I was not actually showing the larvae, which I kept saying, I was showing the casings. So the larvae are the actual little wormy bugs that eat your fiber. The casings are what they live in, basically, which is gross. It's gross. One time I have seen a casing with a live larvae and y'all, okay. Anyway, hopefully never again. Hopefully never again. I'd rather see the very, very ancient vintage moth casings or nothing. There we go. Okay, so we all understand that. Moths are bad, wool moths are bad. Casings, if you see them, are bad. Larvae, obviously, if you see active little wormies, not good. Okay, so let's talk about, where should we start, you all? Let's talk about what I'm working on. Okay, let's just start there. Because here comes Wish. Because I didn't want you to think that I was just not doing anything on my own time, and I apologize if it's loud. They're moving. The grass seed company across the street from us is moving. It's a warehouse and it's like a big thing for them to move. So, okay, I have been spinning. So I showed you that green skein last week, which is done. Okay, are you all ready for this? Because, so this is the East Frisian. It's mint chip. There's like 2 or 3 of these left in like 4 ounces, and she's gonna try to scratch on me with my pretty hand spun sweater. Whoop, I just hit the microphone. So, look at this beauty. So I took some of this home, which happens a lot. I'll just take like little bits of it home and started spinning it. And oh my gosh, so I don't know if I said this in the last one or if I said it on social media, but if you are looking to practice your long draw or you just love spinning long draw, this fiber, it's East Frisian Cross. The brown is the natural, the green is, I think I did talk about it the last time, because I think I showed you the bobbin and I said I was gonna chain ply it. Here it is. Oh my gosh. So I did chain ply it, and I think I have a little video of that, so I'll pop that in there because I know everybody loves to see a little chain plying action, right? So I was not really mindful about how I chain plied it. So, but you can see there's definite pops where the green saturated a little bit more, the brown saturated a little bit more. It's so lovely. And this is pretty hefty. I wasn't messing around. So it's a 3-ply, and then I was not trying to spin my thinnest yarn or anything because I was just having fun cranking. If you just want a super fun fiber to spin, this East Frisian, just run and grab up the rest of it because I love it. Isn't it beautiful? And it's nice and squishy. I did not, like I said, I spun it. I'm going to say this is at least a worsted weight. It probably will. I haven't blocked it or soaked it yet, but I'm guessing it's going to poof out because we all know that. Always soak your hand spun after you finish it. The other thing I was excited about was, I'll take it out. So keeping in mind that I haven't soaked it, let me kind of give it a quick, but you can see for chain plying, there's not a lot of extra twist in this. Now, some people will say that when you take your yarn off your nitty knotty, your yarn should just drape perfectly and not have this twist to it. I don't subscribe to that, whether I'm chain plying or just doing a 2 or 3 ply. I think it's perfectly fine for there to be a little bit of life in your yarn. Now, when you soak it, some of that is going to balance out more, right? Because soaking balances out all the things that we've done to the yarn. But even if you've got one little, you know, like, it's fine. It's your yarn, first off. Let's not forget that. And it's okay for it to have a little bit of life. So for chain plying, it is very easy to over ply in chain plying. And this is, I'm very happy with how I chain plied this. So keep that in mind when you're chain plying. You want to really reduce the amount, like if you are treadling or counting, which when in chain plying especially I do, to keep myself on track. This was a very minimal ply, a very minimal ply. I think I was counting to maybe 3. Or treadling 3 times, basically. That's the rhythm. So there you go. And I will try not to forget to add in that video of me doing the chain ply. There is a little bit of this left. I have no idea what I'm gonna do this. I actually have a little bit more to ply, but it's just glorious. It was just, like I said, it was fun. I stayed up so late one night, just long drawing away on that. So there you go. Okay, other thing I'm working on, I'm actually working on all sorts of things because I've been getting really carried away, and probably next time I will share with you some of my hand carding stuff. But here's drop spindle number 1. So Isabel in France, if you're watching, this is some of the wool you sent me, which I'm going to share, I think in the next one. I think the next episode, I'm gonna share what Isabel sent me, and also how I've been slowly trying to work it up, which I decided, I think I'm gonna drop spindle it. My other option is, for many of you, and I'll show it here in a minute before I get off, I recently, within the last year, I purchased an F. Young vintage spinning wheel, very vintage, antique. I think it's 1800s. It still spins. I thought that this could be a fun, you'll see it next week, but it would be really fun to hand card up everything that Isabel sent me and maybe do a project on that wheel specific. I would like either way to do a specific job on that wheel. I may not have the patience because I kind of want to work on this now, and I realized, oh wait, I have to send the bobbin off on that wheel because I only have one. So it will be going to Bobbin Boy. If you all don't know Bobbin Boy and your hand spinners, log that name into your brain, because if you ever come across an antique wheel or a wheel that needs fixing, Bobbin Boy is the guy in this country who will do that. Obviously, he'll do other countries also, but I will send the bobbin into him and he'll make more bobbins for me. He does everything. He does flyer repair, building things, so Bobbin Boy. He's on Facebook, which I'm sure leads to his website. Okay, so this is a very rough little roll lag I made here on the hand cards, but I just was kind of playing with what Isabel said. Thank you, Isabel. You'll get to watch it get processed. But so I'm hand spinning that, and this is, oh gosh, why am I forgetting? I'll put it in the show notes, but this is that bobbin that I showed you, or this drop spindle that I showed you recently, spacing the name, that has the bobbins. So this just slides off and you can pop the next bobbin on. Pretty awesome. I'm also drop spindling this bad girl. And this drop spindle, my husband gave me as a gift. He got it from Ravelry. I don't think they have them anymore, but it's a handmade one that they highly recommended for beginners when you're drop spindling. So this is that. Okay, this is the fiber. I hope you can catch that it's got a little bit of luster to it. So this is Rommeldale CVM and Cuddlebug, my Pygora goat. So I made these rolags on my blending board, and I'm gonna do a video. I think next week, I'll have one that's like just the different carding things I have been doing, not at the mill. And if there's carding at the mill, I'll show that too. But this is Cuddlebug and some Rommeldale, and the Rommeldale was already, I had carded it up years ago. I put it into here's the story. Somebody brought me, a customer, when I was doing custom processing back in the day, she brought me more Kiviat than any of us will ever see. likely see in one place in our lives. So much Kvyat that she had been saving up for years. And she was part of a particular reservation where apparently there were muskox. And so it was being collected for her. And then anyway, so it came into me and needed dehairing back when I used to do that. And the husband was very thoughtful, and thank goodness though, even though the smell still haunts me, he put a lot of mothballs in with the fiber to keep the moths away, which is great because Kvyat, as we all know, is very expensive. Or if you don't know, it's incredibly expensive, especially now. Anyway, the bins, the plastic tubs I had it stored in, the mothball smell never went away. The fiber airs out really well. So I don't know why I didn't sell this Romeldale. I guess because I wanted to work with it myself. But anyway, that's what this is. I used it on my blending board. So Cuttlebug is adding a layer of, he's adding some extra softness. So Romeldale doesn't generally need that because it's a fine wool. But he also is adding that luster. And Cuttlebug is a pike or a goat for all of you who are wondering. So you can see that. Anyway, so that's something else that I've been working on in small bits. Okay, my Fossete. Somebody asked at Mill Day the other day, how's your Fossete going? And I was like, I had just picked it up and here we go. Here is my Fossete. This is hand spun Romeldale. Speaking of Romeldale, here is where we're at. So I am making progress. Isn't she beautiful? Just love it. So our sleeves are, on waist yarn. So we've got the sleeves there and it's just, this is a short sleeve. So it's just a little ribbed cuff there. So that's pretty piece of cake on those. And now you can see I've gone back into a different color here on the bottom. And I know a whole new thing is happening. I think we do a repeat of this pattern. Then we go onward. So that's where we're at. Romeldale, I can't tell you. I can't get enough of it. I can't get enough of it. It's so lightweight. It's so soft. I would choose it over merino any day. I'm not gonna lie. Here's what I have left of the dark. I don't think I need too much more. We hope. And then I've got tons of this color, which there's a big chunk of the sweater that's in this color. And then just a reminder, somewhere in here is my final. Here's my final. Oh no, sorry, it's already on here. We've already added it to points, sorry. Okay, so there is my Fossete. I'm just like, I'm not having, I love it. So there we go. That is what, among other things that I have been working on personally at the mill. Let's see what's happening at the mill. I've got videos of this, but fresh off the carder, here we go. There's gonna be some lovely sheen to that. So this is Prineville, which for those of you that are new, this is a fiber that I make. I used to make yarn in it, but I'm not making yarn anymore. But I had not done this color in quite a while. I was out. So I call this Just a Touch. It is natural color, so it's just white border Leicester wool. This batch was grown in very far out Eastern Oregon, and it's got natural colored gray mohair. Border Leicester wool mohair. I designed this fiber blend to be for a sock yarn. Okay, I wanted to show you a sock that I had knit out of, this is the commercially spun yarn that's in the, basically pretty close to this colorway, right? They're always gonna be a little different because of the natural colors. So there's that. Hopefully you can get a good reading on that. Obviously that was dyed up. I spun that was a 3-ply, kind of a heavy fingering weight. So one option for spinning it, if you want to spin socks, it is fabulous for that because the mohair adds a natural strength to it. So that's why I came up with this blend. Border Leicester is a pretty solid wool, strong is what I mean by that. And the mohair adds strength, among other things. So it's a great substitute for a synthetic sock that you might find. Okay, here's something else I made. This was a 2-ply And I should show it because it looks kind of weird, right? If you haven't seen me wear this, I wear this all winter. There it is, worn. So this was a 2-ply, same fiber, but in a darker color. There is some darker color up on the website too. 2-ply, and it's about a worsted weight. Easy to spin, easy to spin. I don't remember the name of this. And the sock pattern, I'm forgetting at this moment too. So I'm gonna put both of those in the show notes in case you are interested in either this beautiful lace. Let me just show you. Okay, anyway, so if you are looking for ideas for spinning this roving, you can spin it as a heavier weight or you can spin it as a thinner weight and use it for socks. You could also, I also do have socks that I did a 2-ply heavier weight yarn and I made socks out of years ago, and they're pretty tough, even though they're only a 2-ply. So there's some options for the Prineville, and I will tell you that the reason I ended up doing this is because I did a custom order for a friend. Somehow she knows who she is. I even half delivered it to her. We met halfway on the road and did a wool exchange. So I was doing hers, and hers was a little bit darker, but then in the process of doing hers, I found some white border luster that was already washed, and I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be doing my own fiber, but that is next for what's at the mill. So Prineville, border luster wool, mohair, go check it out if you're interested. Some samples. Oh, I forgot, I do have some videos just of me starting to clean the carder, because after I finished all that, I did a big cleaning on the carder, and next up, darn it, I'm gonna do it today, is my fiber for me, which is the South Country Cheviot. I just have some samples of it here. So you can see, there's the South Country. Hopefully you can see the beautiful, look at that crimp in there. God, that was like seriously wool porn, I apologize. So South Country Cheviot, this is what I got at Maryland Sheep and Wool, which by the way was in May, and it's now almost October, and I haven't even been able to card it up yet. So this is what's happening next, hopefully today, and there will be a video in this episode. My Patreon, my top level Patreon subscribers, they get little extra special somethings in the mail as it arises, just as I think of something. So you all are getting a little bit of this from my fleece. If there's any left after that, then I will put it up for sale. I'm keeping a fair amount of it obviously for myself, but I don't think I need all like 5 pounds or whatever I ended up with. So keep an eye out for that. Okay, that's enough of what's going on at the mill. I'll show you those videos in a minute. Quickly, there is also a meetup this Saturday on Patreon. So if you are not in my community on Patreon, please feel free to jump over there, check it out. In the show notes, you can find a link and maybe join. We have a Zoom meetup once a month. There's different levels. You get this ad-free every week, regardless of what level you're at, the Zoom session. Anyway, so check it out. It is a way to help support what I do here and all the other places that I am trying to get information out about hand spinning and wool. So appreciated my patrons that are there. You all are appreciated, and I hope I get to see you on Saturday. Okay, very quickly, I'm going to talk about e-spinners, and then we're going to go to videos because the e-spinning video is actually a separate video. So e-spinners. The top one, so you all, I still would not classify myself as an e-spinner person. The main ones that you know of, that you probably have heard of, are the Hanson, which is a beautiful wood crafted one, the Ashford, which is also wood, the Ashford e-spinner. There is Dreaming Robots, which has a small model, which you will see. I have a Nano, which is a little mini one. They also have a bigger version. I do not have that to show you, but it is an option. And there is the Daedalus. Y'all, for those of you that were at Mill Day, and I think I might have said it right, Daedalus. I am horrible. So the Daedalus, here's where I'm at. The Daedalus, if I was going to recommend for a new hand spinner, that would be the one I would recommend, because the what it's made of is industrial strength. That's one of the biggest things I love about it, is that the materials that it's made of are just hard to break. There are little pieces or the bobbins that can be broken, but those are the least expensive parts of a spinning wheel. So, but the bulk of that spinning wheel is intense, and I think if I was going to purchase one, that would be the brand I'd go with. Daedalus. I just want to read, because yes, I did have to look it up so that the computer could say the word for me, because for whatever reason I can't get it stuck in my head. But I thought it was funny that the word means a craftsman, considered the inventor of carpentry, who is said to have built the labyrinth for Minos, king of Crete. Minos imprisoned him and his son Icarus, but they escaped using wings which Daedalus made and fastened with wax. Icarus, however, here's the kicker, flew too near the sun and was killed. So there you go. That's where the name comes from. So that would be my top recommendation for an e-spinner for a beginner. If I was going to buy one, that would be the one. And there are different sizes. I forget which one I'm showing you. It is a friend. It's the very friend whose fiber I did that custom processing for. I know that there are a lot of people come to the mill and they have the Ashford e-spinner. So anyway, lots of people love all those, and I love if you love it. I'm not trying to say this one is better than those. This is what I have worked with, and that's the reason that I really like this one, is that the materials are so industrial. The Dreaming Robots one, the Nano 2, is a mini one. So that's the one I have. They have a bigger version. I would definitely not recommend it for beginners. I think it's I love it. I love it, love it, love it. It is very inexpensive. It's also very small. It's very lightweight. It is a little bit finicky. And if you don't understand the dynamics of a spinning wheel, I think it would drive you batty. Also, the uptake on it is not fast. So I think it is made to spin a thinner yarn, which as a beginner is just not where you're going to be at most of the time. So anyway, I'm not going to go on too much. That was my opinion, and I would love for other people to comment, because I know a lot of you have different e-spinners, so please feel free to flood the comments with your favorite, what you have. Here's my other thought on it. As a beginner, I would recommend starting on a standard spinning wheel. And when I was talking to other spinners, the reason we all kind of, I don't know if all of us, but it was a small group. So we all kind of were on the same page with starting with a spinning wheel. Two main reasons. One is that when you are on an e-spinner, and I'll show you in the video, you have to stop and start. There's no slowing your treadling down to fix something or to recalibrate or whatever you have to do. There's no slowing down. You're either on or you're off. Now you can control the speed, but if you need to fix something, especially as a beginner, you're going to have to turn the machine off, take your hands off of stuff to make that happen most likely, and then fix and then turn the machine back on. Naturally, when you are spinning on a spinning wheel, you will learn to slow your feet down, and then you kind of fix something and then you can keep going. You don't have to tink, tink. It's not like stop, start. So that's one reason I would recommend starting on a standard spinning wheel. The second reason, and we kind of talked about this as a group, but there is a natural rhythm that goes with hand spinning. And you don't get that in the same way because you're not treadling on an e-spinner. It's a super basic thing. Again, I'm not saying do, don't, whatever. I'm just giving you my opinion on it, right? And it's okay. And I know some people just can't get the treadling and then absolutely do an e-spinner. But I would start on a standard wheel. Get that rhythm, because there is 100% a rhythm that goes with a wheel and spinning in your hands. And while it takes practice and patience to get there, it is, for me, a big part of the connection. You don't get that in the same way. You're going to have a connection, obviously. You're still going to love it. but there is a rhythm that you just can't get in the same way if you don't have that foot pedal movement. So there you go. I recommend it, but, and then if you're gonna start an e-spinner, I gave you some recommendations, and I will put notes, links to everything in the show notes. For all the e-spinners that I mentioned, I will put show notes. So, okay, woo, enough of me talking. Let's go watch some videos, and then I will come back and say goodbye. Okay, see you in a minute. Okay, we are here at the picker, and I was doing a quick custom thing for a friend of mine, and it got me to where I said, oh, since I'm doing that, I was doing this blend for her, and I thought, well, since I've already got mohair, and I'll show you some lovely mohair. Here it is, hopefully you can see. This is some gorgeous stuff. So I thought, since I'm already, because the mohair does have some little guard hairs and things like that, and actually I'm gonna hold off on that patch. I might as well do a small batch. I call this our Prineville. This is border Leicester wool, and you can see I'm just kind of opening up the border just a quick bit, and then laying it on top of the mohair. So I call this our Prineville blend. I'm going to turn on the machine and let it start to go. So this is our Prineville blend, I call it. And I'll show you, I'll probably have showed you in the video, but I used to make this as a yarn. And my idea of it was as a sock yarn. So for those of you that are new, this is Prineville, and there will be some of this. This is what I call just a touch, this color blend, because I do the white, natural colored white border Leicester with a little bit of the natural colored gray of the mohair. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick this out, and then we'll head to the carder and get it on the carder, and I will see you there in a minute after I get this last batch spread out. Okay, so here we are. Everything is done out of the picker. So you can see my oh so glamorous way. I basically just pull stuff, kind of mix it up while I'm in here in case anything, you know, just to keep the colors blending well. So we're gonna take this and then head over. A lot of times I would condition it from this point, but it is almost 70% humidity in here. So if I condition it, we're basically gonna be wet. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it over to the carder, and we're just going straight onto the carder. We're gonna take advantage of this humidity. Okay, let's go over there. Okay, we are at the carder, and I can load this up pretty heavy feed because it's super airy. It's really picked out well. And then, like anything, I think that the mohair just helps the carder along because it's just that extra slickness in the fiber. So I am running about 4 ounces per feed, which if you're new, I have these blue lines, and that's kind of per feed, and I do it that way so that everything stays fairly uniform. So I'm going to turn this on. Whoops, I'm going to actually turn the machine on first, and then we'll go ahead and turn that on, and we'll go see what's going to come out the other end here. I always have this slightly askew, don't I? But it's all right. Let you guys see what's going on in there a little bit. And I was just running a little order that was for my friend, as I mentioned in the last thing. So there's a little bit of darker. We did hers a little bit darker than this, just a touch. Just a smidge. I actually just a touched some dark wool into it. So she'd have kind of a shade darker than this. And so we're gonna let that run. And we'll see what's coming out once it starts to turn into the fiber color I want. So here she is. see it's kind of running thin now. Let me get some stuff out of the way. And a little bit darker. And it'll pretty quickly turn on us here and start giving me the color that I am aiming for. So we're already getting lighter from how it was. And I like to let it run for just a second so that the roving gets a little bit thicker. And then my stand does not want to stand for you all. And there's just a little hint, I'll pull some up. Okay, my stand is set up. Whew. So we can see it's really nice and white. There's going to be just a touch. Let me take you off and you can get a little bit closer. Just a touch of gray, which is just that mohair. So it's going to be really pretty. And I probably have already showed you in the video, but here it is coming off. It is a great day for doing a mohair fiber with all this humidity. Okay, see you all in a minute. Hey everyone, so I thought I would throw in just a quick video of me kind of doing just a little quick, well, it's not really quick for me, but for you guys, it will be a quick clean on the carder because I finished up that Prineville and now it's time to go back to white for a little bit. So I thought I would record this for you. So everything's opened up. I am going to find my step ladder and unplug the machine because safety first. Okay, machine is unplugged, so no risk of anything coming apart or starting up on me, which would be bad because you can imagine that these are extremely dangerous if you have something in the wrong place. So I've got her opened up so you can actually see inside there. And let me see if I can raise this a little bit more. I might have to put the stand on something for you to be able to see inside when I'm cleaning this out. Let's see what I can do here. There we go. I think you can see pretty well in there now. So I literally just use a cat brush, and usually I have a knitting needle, but for some reason my knitting needle has disappeared. But basically what I will do, everything will come off of the fancy here. So as I'm going along, I'll be cleaning everything out of there. That's really where I need the needle or the knitting needle, just so that I can kind of get down. This will work too, just to pull some of those hairs that have gotten kind of deep down in there. And this will all go into a waste wool pile that will be reused. The last big bag of waste wool I had went to a beehive, or a beehive nest, whatever that is called. A beekeeper, a new beekeeper was making a space for the bees and needed to insulate it, and so used a bunch of this clean wool. But so anyway, that's the first step, is just to go through. I just like to get that kind of pretty cleaned out, because the machine will just, as I'm doing stuff, it'll just keep picking up. No sense in it transferring wool to different places as I clean. So I'll just show you how I get started, and then trust me, you'll be bored quickly. And there's probably a fair amount in here. You can see it's going to take a minute for me to work it out there, and I probably could use a new cat brush, but I'll not make you watch all this. This is very full, so I might just have to dig a little bit at it. So I'll come back in a sec after I get this all opened up, because once you start going, it kind of comes off in sheets. But It's gonna take me a minute because I just kept carding and carding away. Okay, I realize I had you kind of far away. So now you can see as I'm going in and I'm having just to pull kind of this first little spot out so I can get a good grip on everything moving forward. And once I get this kind of moving, it does go, I don't know, it seems like it takes forever to clean the carder, but I know it doesn't take, especially compared to bigger mills. This carder is pretty darn quick, and if you do it fairly often, which I do, then it really shouldn't take too long. So I'm just going to get all this started up. I'll come back and show you. Actually, now we're probably where we can get stuff going. You can see why I turned the machine off, because you do not want to worry about it starting up on you while you're doing this. So I'll kind of get, and since this is loose, I'll pull all this off, so I'll take my cat brush, and this just rotates over here, and I'll just start pulling at this a little bit. It's probably going to take a little bit longer this time because it's been a bit since I have carded. So the nice thing is once you get this first section going, I still end up using the brush, but I can kind of do a rotate. I rotate to the top, and then I can get a good pull on it. You know, just a bigger version of if you have a drum carder at home, what you're doing at home. And you can see some of the colors that have added up on here, the grays and such. So I'll just give this a good yank off. And I don't use this stuff. And I try to make sure I'm getting any bits of EM that have gotten lodged in there. So it's a pretty tedious task. Not an enviable one necessarily. It does get you warm quick though. So we'll give it a turn again. And then I'll start to pull. And I'll just go through. It's a pretty big drum, so it'll take a little bit. Probably take me about half hour to get it clean. And then I'll come back and let you see what it looks like once it's all clean. Okay, so I did a pretty good clean down on the carder there. There's little bits of hair here and there, but it'll be okay. You can't get every hair. So we're done there. I gave it a good vacuum. Here is all the waste that was on the carder. That is a lot of waste. Here's my foot for comparison. It's a lot of waste. So everything, actually, I've got a vacuum out up here. I'll do a little more vacuuming up here. And then what I'll do is just let it run for like 10 minutes and everything else will kind of drop out that needs to drop out, and we'll be set for, I'm gonna scroll back. Ooh, maybe I'm gonna scroll back. And then we'll be set for some white fiber. Okay, onward. Okay, we are in my studio at home. And first I just gotta say I was editing videos last night to get this up, and there were quite a few times in my cleaning the carder that I needed to say, that's what she said, as I was editing it. So for those like 3 spots in the carder cleaning section, that's what she said. So, okay, moving on. Okay, so I have got in front of us 2 electric spinning wheels. Okay, so we have got the Daedalus Starling, and we have got the Dreaming Robots. It's the Nano 2, I believe. You can see just in size-wise how tiny this one is. Still packs a punch on how much fiber it will hold, but First thing, I have an extension cord running from the Nano. So you do have to consider that if you're going to take this places, you will need to invest in the battery. I can't remember how much they are, but that you can get batteries for both of these so you can be on the go as long as you charge your battery in advance. The Nano I often need an extension cord for because the cord on it is not very long. The Starling, the cord's a bit longer, and it has on its cord a foot pedal, which I think most of the regular size e-spinners have a foot. So you can stop and start on that, which is a nice perk that the Nano doesn't have. Now the Nano only runs like $130. So there you go. I think these are in the, you know, I can't remember. I should have looked it up for you all, but you can look. There's links in the show notes to all the wheels that I mentioned, but they get pricey real quick. So things to take into account. As far as just cuteness, so this one has a little orifice hook that magnetizes there. The Starling has an orifice hook that magnetizes to the back, which we're going to use. The Starling is interesting in, so there's little pieces on the Starling that are a little, I probably would be easier to use this, that are made of, I think, just 3D printed. So they're a little bit more fragile. The bobbins, I think, can break more easily, that sort of thing. But the component as a whole is made of super industrial strength stuff, which is why I love it so much, because the little pieces are easy to replace. The bobbins are not too expensive. It is the spinning wheel as a whole. This one, if you drop it, you're going to be in trouble. So this is a little more finicky. I have found that like some of the screws are a little more finicky, and it does want to spin. You can kind of see if you can see, I'm spinning a lot thinner on the Nano than on the Starling. And I think the Nano in general wants to spin a thinner yarn because it's a little bit slower. And so you're going to get a thinner yarn from that naturally. And as a beginner, that's just not where you want to be. So that's why I recommended this over. And it's why I would say, don't get this. Get any of the other wheels I mentioned, a full size, because it's just going to be a little easier as a beginner. But other than that, they are pretty standard. The Starling has a speed control here. So this is the equivalent of how you're treadling. And the speed control is here. And then the other control is the Scotch tension, which on the Nano is this. And this is where I've had, and I know some friends have had to replace some screws and stuff on this Scotch tension. There's a little Scotch tension band here. It is very inexpensive. I think I ordered a new band for right here, and they sent a whole kit and it was $12. So no big deal. Scotch tension for the Starling is this cord running here, and you can see that. And then they have their on-off switches. This is on here. You can obviously spin one way or the other. So that's kind of the comparison as far as size. I think the Starling fits like 8 ounces on here, which is ginormous. I do not have a wheel that fits 8 ounces, not of mine. This fits a solid, I would say, close to 2 ounces, if not just a little bit under. So they both pack a punch as far as how much you can get onto the bobbin. And I will go ahead, I think that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Really, like I said, I think a full size, if you're gonna go e-spinner, a full size one, if you're a beginner, is the way to go. Just spend the extra money or wait until you can find one used, which does not happen very often. This one is great for if you are already a spinner and you want to have something little and fun to spin on. This is a great little wheel, especially for the price. So I'm going to turn one of them on, and they both just have on-off switches, and they're very simple. So there you go. I'll spin for you all for a minute on one of them, and then we'll finish up this episode, shall we? All right, so this little beauty just turns on. I have to crank it fairly far on mine. I don't know if everybody has that, but to get a good turn on it, and maybe I should move but it cranks pretty well. Like I said, I do a pretty fine. I did a 2-ply. That was an easy fingering weight last time. I'm going to pull you all back just a little bit, or up, I should say. So so you can see a little bit better. If you're new to spinning, you probably want to watch my hands just a little bit, but you can see, so you do have to stop to do anything. But it's a super fun little wheel. And it does crank. So, and this is it going pretty fast. It can go a little bit faster, but I still just get a pretty, I think a lot of it, you know, a lot of it has to do with the Scotch tension on it. But, all right. So there is that wheel. And then it just turns off like that. You click it off all the way. There is all the different cords you need for if you get a battery. Okay, so here we are at the Starling. It's just gonna have a little button that I switch there so that it spins in the direction I want. And then I'm gonna hit the foot pedal and it will start going. And I have no idea where I left this, but I'm trying to let you see my hands a bit. That's all there is to the Starling. The nice thing about the Starling is, I'm gonna spin this fiber from the other side. Always try the other side if you don't think it's spinning well. So the nice thing about the Starling is that it has this foot pedal. I mean, there's a lot of nice things about the Starling. Now that I'm spinning at it, I'm like, ooh, this is nice. These are just, and the nice thing is they're so good for if you're traveling. I can show you the bag that Maggie has for hers. Everything fits in there. It's great. So please ignore my spinning. I actually was spinning this long draw, so I'll pull this off once I'm done. But I just wanted to, you can hear how nice and quiet. So there you go. There's kind of my side by side, and I'll show you guys. I'm going to take this off the tripod just so you can see kind of from this angle their sizes. Okay, I hope that was interesting enough for all of you that are thinking about getting an e-spinner or are thinking about learning to hand spin. Okay, you all, hopefully you'll hear me okay. If not, so I just start with, my lead has a knot on the end, and then I go ahead and I wrap my yarn through, not even that much, just a little bit. And we put our Scotch tension on, that helps. I want y'all to know that I actually stained my kiwi after like 8 years. So, okay, I'm gonna start, and I just hold the tip down here where my two yarns meet, and then I go ahead and start. So that first little bit is kind of a wash, but that's okay. So I've created another, I did a video on this on my Patreon. We did a little workshop on it, where I went into a little more depth, but you can see it's just a crochet chain, and I use my fingers to guide along, and ideally this yarn that I'm pulling through stays in the middle of the loop, but it's not necessary. It doesn't always happen, and that's okay. They're going to twist on each other, and you can see, I think you can probably see how quickly it gets wound onto the bobbin, because we are doing it. Oh, somehow we got wound up there. We are doing a 3-ply, so, and this is a, so it's just a little crochet chain, and you just kind of, I do count. Obviously, when you first start, you don't need to make your loops so big. You could start with little baby loops. I didn't even change my hook, did I? So I'm getting all wound up. Let's keep moving along. So you could have little baby ones so you can practice when you're first starting. They're not going to take much time to get twist into them. you just keep going. And then when you get to the end, you just let the third, there's a nice big brown chunk there. You just kind of do your last little rotate through. You're done. All right. Okay, I hope you all enjoyed all of those videos. And goodness, I haven't done my fiber, so I hope you all got to see me carting up some of that South Country Cheviot. I really do. For myself, I hope that means I got some done. I wanted to mention that before I go, I'm still reading the books I was reading before, so I don't have any updates. I'm not the fastest reader because I tend to read first thing in the morning and then last thing at night. So it just depends where I'm at in life. But I wanted to let you know what I'm watching, which I don't watch a ton of TV, again, because I do watch mainly when I go to my craft room to spin or knit at night. But I did just start Only Murders in the Building. It is on Hulu. So good. Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. And I'm just a few episodes in and I'm already hooked. And I was like, I love Steve Martin anyway, just as a child in the movie Roxanne. I am aging myself for some of you who will have no idea what that movie is, but if you haven't watched it, I'm pretty sure it stands the test of time. Steve Martin, adorable. Anyway, Martin Short and Selena Gomez are amazing in it also. It's so, so good. So if you're looking for something new to watch, head over to Hulu and grab that. Okay, I think that's it. We talked about Primeville, we talked about e-spinners. Next time we're gonna dive deep into some wool carding that I'm doing at home. Hopefully I'll have some mill videos as well. And I think that's it, you all. Don't forget to subscribe, please. If you are interested in my Patreon community, jump over there. There's a link in the show notes. I would love to see you inside there. It's a great way to find some new spinning community, ask questions, share what you're working on, and just chat and hang out. And that's it. So until next week, I actually am headed to Lambtown next week. So I'm definitely going to get videos from there. I'll be on the road on Wednesday. So likely there won't be videos from Lambtown in next week's, but the following week for sure. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, stay healthy, be kind to everybody, please, and make so many pretty things until I see you soon. Next week, in fact. All right, take care, everyone. Thank you.